The next question is, do you have an animal totem or guide? If so, what and why do you feel you are connected to that particular animal? Yes, like I said before, my primary animal totem is the wolf. And there's an interesting story. When I was an early Wiccan, um, very early in the path for me, there was this thing that happened to me, and I ended up in this really bad section of town, and I wasn't in a car, I was walking. I was going to have to walk through this section, and it was late at night, and of course I make sure that this never happens to me at this point in my life, but there I was, and there were all these people. It was in the middle of summer, and there were all these people out, and it was kind of threatening. And I looked up, and as I was beginning to walk down this street, there was this black dog that was huge, and kind of looked up at me, and I thought, oh, well, this is it. It started running toward me, and I thought it was going to attack me. And when it got to me, it just kind of looked at me, and it jumped up on me and licked me on the face. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it walked with me the entire way through the entire neighborhood till I got to where I had to go, and then it looked at me and walked back. And it was one of the most amazing experiences. But yeah, I feel like that I have the wolf totem. The wolf is something that guides me in my path working as well when I'm doing that kind of work. Um, why do you feel you are connected to that particular animal? I think a lot of times past lives have a lot to do with the particular totems that we work with and that kind of thing. What is your favorite Sabbat or Esbit? My favorite Sabbat is Samhain. It's always been my favorite Sabbat, and I've always been drawn to that particular time of year as well. I've always liked that it's the end and beginning of our year, and I like moments like that are on the threshold between the two. Do you feel that walking this path has changed how you view others, yourself, society in a positive or even a negative way? Absolutely. I feel like that being Wiccan has made me a much more positive person, and has made me view everything from a more positive light, including myself and others. When you think of the god or goddess, what forms do they take? What are they holding, wearing, etc.? That's an interesting question. I always think of the god as with the horns, and with the goddess I usually see her with the triple or with the crescent on her forehead. Sometimes they take, in my visualization, sometimes they take the forms of like, I'm not sure if I hope you're familiar with this, but like the goddess of Willendorf is often an image that comes to mind when I'm doing visualization and that kind of thing. And the god is always horned, wearing horns. The horns for me are emblematic of the emergence of the powers of intellect from animal nature. And of course they echo the crescent of the mother goddess. So those are typically the forms they take for me in my mind when I'm working with them. What what does humanity mean to you? Um, that's such an interesting question, because I think that humanity represents, I believe the divine is immanent in everything, in every being, and I don't regard humanity as being the pinnacle of creation or evolution, but I feel like that with humanity, for me, I have to focus on the potential that humanity has within it, and for me that is the potential for compassion and the potential for finding um, logical solutions to problems and that kind of thing. Um, so I would like to think that humanity represents the ability to be self-aware and to reach out with compassion toward other beings and toward alleviating suffering in the world, not only among fellow humans but among the animal kingdom as well. What path do I follow? What path do you follow? I'm an eclectic solitary Wiccan, and like I said, that has traditional elements, and elements of the reclaiming tradition are very prevalent in what I practice as well. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to study paganism? I would say the biggest thing that you can do is to become as self-aware as possible, and I would advise meditation and those kinds of practices for anyone in any form of spirituality really, but especially with paganism. Um, what are your views on animal abuse, and what is your view on animal testing, and is it necessary, and do you think it's right? I'm so glad that someone raised that question, because animal abuse is one of the most abhorrent and disgusting things that humanity can engage in. It really grieves me, probably more than anything else. And it really is disgusting, the amount of animal abuse that goes on in the food industry and in all of the industries. The animal testing that goes on, and is it necessary? No, I don't think it is. And I've read a lot of things on both sides of that issue, and I just think it's abhorrent morally. That's my bottom line. And I try to lead a life that is free as possible of judgments of others. And when people, even when people engage in eating meat and that kind of thing, I try to realize that there was a time when I ate meat, and I try to be tolerant, and I try to not have judgments about what other people's decisions and that kind of thing. But I find it very difficult on this issue, because it's just so appalling, the amount of suffering that goes on, and in the industries, and for no purpose. A lot of it is so that they can get government grants, and they require a certain amount of animal testing, and it's often on things that have been tested before, and so to me it's pointless, and I really don't get why we've created a system that does that. So my view, my bottom line opinion and view on animal testing is that animals have a right to live their life without being abused, without being tortured, or without being killed. And I think that on the spiritual path, it's inevitable for people to come to a point where they have to realize that it's wrong to engage in or to support industries that engage in creating that kind of suffering and exploitation of living beings. And I firmly support animal rights and animal independence. I really, really do. And I know that there might be people out there who really disagree with me on that, and that's fine. Everyone needs to make up their own mind, and everyone needs to come to their own opinions. But I try to lead a life as free as possible from buying or supporting any of the industries that engage in animal testing or in any kind of abuse of our animal companions. To me, it's immoral and abhorrent, and there will be a point, I believe, when we have to divorce ourselves from industries that encourage that kind of suffering. And yeah, so that's my take on it.